Hi, and welcome to Future Proofing. I'm your host, Ekalavya, and this show is presented by Intel vPro, built for business. In our show, we talk about Metaverse, blockchain, NFTs, and there's something which we've spoken about almost a little in every episode, right? You guessed it, gaming. I'm a gamer. I've worked in a lot of gaming startups, and today we are going to do a little deep dive into the world of Web3 gaming. And in our studio today is the founder of a really hot gaming streaming startup from India, Piyush from Router. And we'll get into our conversation with him after this quick Intel vPro break. Welcome back. In the studio today, I have Piyush, the founder of Router, and really excited to have this conversation with him. Welcome, Piyush.
No, thanks so much. Very excited to be here. We've known each other for a long time, and I'm so happy to be speaking about gaming with you.
Thanks so much, Piyush. Piyush, see, gaming is such a vast topic, right? Like, in fact, I was going to tell our producers that we can do an entire series on gaming.
Yes.
So today we'll try to not go incredibly deep and dense so that we lose a lot of people. But we'll also, try to figure out what is this crypto gaming, what is Web3, how gaming has evolved. So let's start, right, Piyush? Are you a gamer? And tell us your memories of your first game.
Yes, I am a gamer. Who's not a gamer is the real question, because I think each and every individual must have encountered gaming in some or the other way. For me, it's the early days when we used to play those Mario games on consoles, which moved to the games like Snakes and all on phone. Then I remember I picked up a PlayStation Vita that I started playing with, which was the earlier PlayStation Vita.
Yeah.
And there were a lot of games which used to be available in Palika, and we used to do this. I bought PS3, and then I got I got a PlayStation Vita. Before that, I had another PlayStation handheld. Then I got PlayStation Vita.
The PSP, right?
The PSP. So I had PSP, then I had PS3. Then I bought a PlayStation Vita in 2014, which is the last edition of PS Vita, and mine one is working absolutely fine with only games until 2014. And just about 3-4 months back, I bought PlayStation 5. So yeah, it's been a crazy journey going through these. While I don't count myself as a very ardent gamer like others are.
What are your favorite games, Piyush?
Well,
what do you play? What do you like to play?
So my life is a lot around sports, right?
Yeah.
So I love the fact that I can take my sports experiences onto the gaming. So I love playing all the sports games, which is FIFA. My favorites are in the genre of tennis games. Top Spin, multiple other such games I've really liked. Yeah. In fact, on PS Vita also, I have one of the tennis games which is still doing pretty well. So sports games is my genre, which I really like. At this stage, because I'm in the business of gaming, and I have figured few games, so I'm learning few games. I'm literally learning few games with my 6.5-year-old.
Why, to be cool with your kids and to the people you work with?
Not really. One is that I have been, so since the last 2 years, we've been building Router, and it's a streaming platform. So I've been watching a lot of content.
Yeah.
Now I want to, I feel like I should go on and sort of play it. So me and my son, we actually are trying to play Fortnite, Grand Theft Auto, also PUBG, BGMI. So we're trying to learn all of that. Literally, we're in a learning phase, and I'm really enjoying it. It's like 30 years back how I used to start learning gaming.
So let's talk about 30 years back, right? Or probably Web 1.
Yeah.
Many people, like I was reading an analogy of Web 1, Web 2, 3 gaming, right? Like Web 1 was just play. Mm-hmm. Web 2 was probably play with your friends, interact with your friends. And Web 3 is now about owning a part of the game and also probably earning as part of the game, right? So like Web 1, what was it? Like Snake or Mario when you were playing? Like what do you think would be Web 1 of gaming?
So Web 1 was exactly how you said. I think we used to play games in isolation. We used to have, there were few privileged one who used to have some of the other game experience, or you used to have it on your phone and you used to play it, but it wasn't interactive. It wasn't that you were playing one, you're playing against yourself.
Yeah, primarily.
So it's like you're improving your timing, you're improving your scores, and that is what the experience was. Until the Web 2 games that you mentioned, where you started to play with either one more opponent or multiplayer games, which changed the entire experience. So that is how the evolution I saw in my journey. And how about you, Bob?
That's a very nice question. So yeah, I've been right from say Pong and Space Invaders, reading about those games, then probably playing Contra, Mario, And then honestly, my dad was in the computer center, he was in the army, and we had a computer in our home really long back, and I used to play a lot of DOS games. Like some people will remember Digger, Cat, Arachnoid, Bricks, and this is before Windows 95.
Yeah.
And then as gaming evolved, right, I think the first game which had not just a single solo player experience was this game which came out called Empire, which was which was a strategy per move game. And I think when LAN came in, like LAN probably 93, 95, 96, when LAN came in before too much of the internet, when computers were connected, suddenly I saw Quake becoming really popular.
Yes.
I was in school, I was probably in 6th, 7th standard, and a lot of people were playing Quake. A lot of casual players were probably playing Dave, like some of our listeners might remember, and with this little jetpack and moving around. And honestly, I think gaming really exploded primarily because of the Nokia 3310, because of Snake.
That's right.
But because of the internet, because suddenly gaming was a solo experience, right? People would play and people would talk about playing. And then again, gaming slowly became this community experience, right? And then probably with RuneScape in 2001, we saw role-playing games come to the fore. As the internet evolved and social media was evolving, we saw games like Farmville, right? Like in India, everyone was farming. And then probably, I think, and that's leading to our next question also, right? I think mobile gaming completely changed the world of gaming, right? Like I think once the iPhone and smartphones dropped, suddenly gaming, which was still a little niche, which was like console gaming and probably some screens and some PC gaming, which was coming up, I think mobile gaming just came and just like it's the highest segment of gamers in today's world, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So in fact, you're right that in fact, we have also seen this very closely, and my experience in gaming is related to how mobile gaming came and it completely changed things, starting with India. So for example, I see this in most of my conversation that India used to be a very dominant gaming market for a very long time. People would say, okay, there are a billion people over here. Most of them will have a smartphone, but they're not going to play any important game. And things used to be around very casual gaming until things started to change a bit with Ludo. When Ludo got launched, Gamation did an excellent job in massifying gaming, where a lot of people, and then Ludo got adopted so well during the pandemic because everybody who used to play, everybody was playing.
They were on Zoom and they were playing Ludo.
It was crazy, and I imagine there were like people, there were friends groups and so many WhatsApp groups. And I remember one of my, somebody I know, Shefali, she did a very interesting story on this as well. But the real change in India also happened with mobile gaming when all the battle royale games came in, and that has transformed. In fact, the reason India is stated to be one of the largest gaming market and led by mobile gaming market is because of battle royale games, PUBG, Free Fire, Call of Duty, and now Valorant, which is a PC game, is also taking off. So, my experience and my business part of gaming has actually built around this transformation, where from a very dominant market, as I said, India is now considered as a gold mine for gaming, and it is amazing to be in a place where things like this are happening.
So we'll obviously speak about Router a little more towards the end, but tell me, like, just to start off with, right? Like I've been hearing about so many people streaming on Router. What is the percentage split between mobile gaming streamers and console streamers and PC streamers?
So it used to be, until 1.5 years back, it used to be a very 90-95% mobile gaming versus PC gaming. We don't have console streaming on our platform. Mostly in India, people don't do console streaming. It's very limited. Until Valorant came, and Valorant is now growing very fast. I think Riot has done a great job in making that game popular. It's a PC game.
It's competing with CSGO now, like a lot of people are.
Absolutely, and we are hoping they launch their mobile version soon, because the gameplay is apparently amazing. I don't play it myself, but I've seen so many tournaments, so many content being hosted on Router, and I think it's fantastic. We in fact were a part of one of the LAN tournaments that we hosted with Sky some time back. But coming back to the game, now it is on our platform, or for that matter, mostly you can talk about the industry. It's safely between 80-20%.
80% mobile streamers?
80% mobile streamers and 20% PC streamers. And it is also happening that there are few games which are available on PC that people are also playing on PC, like PUBG and all, but mostly it is mobile gaming.
So what's the future, Piyush? When people say Web3, okay, now let's get into Web3. So firstly, I want you to explain Web3 and crypto gaming to a normal person.
Yeah.
Okay. So maybe a 6-year-old kid who might be too smart. Okay. So maybe your parents or someone who understands gaming. Okay. Probably somewhere related to gaming, but not a heavy duty gamer themselves. Okay. And like, how do you explain crypto gaming, Web3 gaming to them? And then how do you explain Web3 gaming to probably a gamer? Okay. A gamer who probably knows a little bit of what's happening in cryptos, NFTs, but primarily loves gaming, right? Probably a FIFA player.
Sure.
And so
yeah, I'll try and do this job. It's quite a one, but let me try and attempt it and see if I'm able to do this. So very simply put, the way gaming has evolved over a period of time is that, for example, you pick up a game, you play a game, and you say win items or you win some experiences over there. Everything that you have or you buy is on that particular game. You can't take it anywhere else.
By the developer, by the
studio, on that app, wherever it is, right? And there are multiple such examples where people have just got limited to they are doing well on a certain game, but they are limited to that game. First and foremost, imagine that you have been playing a game for last few years or few months or whatever, and you have earned something, and you can take it to another new game and use it to learn that game or do better or kind of grow with that game.
Like an interoperable digital currency.
Exactly. So what Web3 games primarily and first and foremost is that your experiences or your items or things can be transported and can be used across different games.
Okay.
Which is what makes the most fundamental part of gaming very exciting.
But how does this happen, Piyush?
So it happens because everything that you will have in terms of your currency or in terms of your items will be common between games. So a set of games or a set of items which is in form of cryptos or anything is being considered as a common currency for multiple games.
So the game is basically built on a blockchain. Like a game is built on an Ethereum blockchain, you're saying?
Yes. So I'm coming to the game bit as well, that from a gaming perspective, the way it happens is that first and foremost, the game is no longer centralized to a particular organization or a particular group. It's basically decentralized. So it's being managed by number of people across different, touch points, and therefore the operability of this particular thing will become much more diverse, right?
That's a DAO, right?
That's a DAO.
Okay.
So what also happens is that the second thing that will happen is that because of a DAO, which is basically that it's not being controlled by one person or one organization, it's being controlled by a lot of people. So I'll come to the DAO, but let me just explain this part, that first and foremost, the fact that your experiences can be taken over different people and it is happening because there is a decentralized gaming is the first part.
Okay.
The second part, explaining in very simple terms, is basically play to earn model.
Okay.
So one thing that Web3 games offer to you is an option for you to earn while you're playing. Right. And there are multiple games like Axie Infinities of the world, which is bringing that experience to you. And that basically means that the more you play, the more you can earn different cryptocurrencies that can be taken over and can be used in different games. So the entire fact that you can transport between different games and the fact that you can really value your gameplay is what makes Game 3 or rather makes Web3 a very, very interesting experience.
That's fascinating. So probably our definition for, let's go a little deeper, for the people who understand gaming, right?
Yeah.
And then we touched upon DAO. Let's jam, right? So in today's world, say a Fortnite, right? Fortnite is run by Epic and they run it, right? On their engine, probably the Unity engine. How do we imagine a Fortnite sort of a game? How do we build a Fortnite sort of a game in a DAO sort of a structure? So where does, say, an Epic or other studios like a Riot come into it? Because you mentioned decentralized, right?
Yeah.
Like, help us imagine what is this? What is this term decentralized?
So the way it works is that it's basically building the ownership down back to the players.
Okay.
That's the fundamental of gaming, how it is going to change. What a decentralized gaming basically means. So what it means is that the game will be controlled by the players and not by a particular authority. So if in case of a Fortnite, or if one was to imagine a certain game, it will basically, and how it happens is that there are different currencies which basically gets divided between different people who owns these, and then they can set the rules of the game. They can see what kind of gameplay can happen. So the entire ownership will shift down. So it's basically
to more community led.
So it's more bottom led than the top led, which is what is going to change the fundamental of the gaming, which is what is happening in a very DAO led sort of environment.
So basically, let me understand. So there will exist a DAO.
Yeah.
And that DAO will be part of this community of gamers. And they might decide that we should hire either Activision Blizzard or we should hire Riot to build our game. And if right, and all are doing a good job of it, great. Otherwise, as part of this DAO, we as a community can choose to change studios, probably, right? Like, is that what it is?
Perhaps to a certain extent.
Okay.
I mean, development of game, it's difficult for me to imagine if that much can be controlled. But I personally feel that the gameplays, the rules, the way the experience is,
Okay.
how the currencies are getting divided, what is the ways the scoring is happening, all of that can start to get changed much faster than actually the development of the game. And it's something that even I like to discuss and learn that whether that can happen or not. But I personally feel that it's the structure of the game that will get changed first before anything else. And that is where DAOs will come into a play, and that is where the entire ownership will shift to the gamers and will be controlled by gamers than the people who are actually making the game.
So there's something very interesting which you said, right? Like earlier you mentioned that now you can play and earn, right? And then you mentioned about tokens and avatars. That's been in gaming since 1960s, 70s, right? Like collecting avatars and collecting special swords, etc. Now you're saying that if I'm playing World of Warcraft, right, and I have a specific power within the game, right? Can be a shield, can be a sword. In an interoperable Web3 ecosystem, you're saying that that token which I had within the game, that asset which I had, right? People like to use the word asset.
Yeah.
That asset which I had within the game, which earlier probably was just meaningless. I was playing for myself and to beat other friends and other strangers on the internet. Suddenly, I can, if I lose interest in the game or if I'm good at the game, I can now start selling that token on the market. Like explain a little more about this tokenization which is happening in the gaming world.
From a tokenization, there are things which are happening. So first and foremost, these games will either have come up with their own tokens or they will come up with their tokens. So that's the first part. Now, what happens is that, for example, you're playing a certain game and you're earning while playing that game. You have a certain number of token of that particular game, and if you lose interest in that, you can probably go and trade that token and get into some other game. So the value of your time, see, what is happening with Web3 is that your time gets valued and your gameplay gets valued much more than what used to happen before. And you can take that token that you've earned on a certain thing and you can go and trade it. Or in that case, in case of an Axie Infinity, for example, there are multiple Axies that you use. You stack them up, you can sell it off and you can kind of make money in the process, or you can sort of use it for different purpose. So the idea here being is that, without trying to get into very technical part of it, essentially the value of time that a gamer is spending on a game can now be earned, and you can convert it into a currency or into a card or something, and you can take it to different games and you can use the value of that for other games. Largely this is how I imagine the world. It's happening very early right now. These are still first couple of years. But I think as more and more games come in, it will start to I think one of the gameplays where it will change a lot is basically on any card-based games. So currently, for example, you play a card-based game and you own a certain card. Technically, you don't own a card because it's owned by the gaming company, right? There are copyright issues, you can't sell it. I mean, there are some things available on eBay here and there, but you can't do it. But imagine if all card-based games starts to convert into sort of a Web3 game. Where either in the form of NFTs or in the form of different cards, you can use it, you can trade it, you can probably just stack it for some time and you can, earn a lot of money out of it. All that change is something that will drive through Web3 gaming.
That's fascinating. Piyush, something which a lot of people have spoken about even on our show, right? When I ask them what is the metaverse, primarily people say AR and VR and a modified version of the internet where we'll experience gameplay, we'll experience education, we'll experience life in general, right? What does the metaverse mean to you?
I think metaverse is something that is still, I think the experience and the entire definition is getting evolved. And even I try and, think about it multiple times to understand what is the best way to explain it. I think it's basically, metaverse typically means that you're getting transported into an experience which is not what is happening in your real life. You basically get transported into another version of a life that you can imagine, and that is where things are happening. And that is what metaverse means to me, whether it is through gaming or through music or through multiple other things, but you're basically in another universe altogether, which has a different meaning and a different rule and a different experience altogether.
That's so fascinating, Piyush. On that note, we'll do this quick segment, which is time for Eka's commandments for future-proofing. See you on the other side. The metaverse has opened up an alternate universe for us. But even in this metaverse of madness, you need to remain safe at all times. With our digital avatars going online, there's always a risk of something like identity theft becoming even more common. Make sure you don't enter your identity details such as Aadhaar number or your social security number in random online marketplaces. While I help you with tips that help you protect yourself in the virtual world, Intel vPro secures your PCs in the real world. Do you know that 50% of critical corporate data resides on unprotected desktops and laptops? Can you imagine 50%? Shocking, right? Intel vPro ensures hardware-based security and provides multi-layer security to help protect your business's resources and data. Intel vPro, built for business. Welcome back in conversation with the fascinating Piyush. Piyush, before the break, we were talking about the metaverse, right? And just diving a little deeper into this concept of metaverse, right? So is Fortnite its own metaverse?
I think that is the first game that perhaps gave you an idea about what metaverse can be. If you can experience a music concert while you're playing a game, that is the closest to a metaverse experience that you can get to. And to a certain extent, I think, they're kind of led the experience of metaverse that it can be. And you're right that it is perhaps the first one.
You know, we in the episode of advertising, if you all want to check it out, we spoke about this interesting example of brands, right? And I also want to talk about our listeners who might not be hardcore gamers, but into branding, advertising, sales. So we spoke about a couple of brands, like a fashion brand called Balenciaga, which basically was selling real life fashion items, and at the same time you also unlocked that item within the game, right? Now that's really interesting. But when someone says metaverse, right, and if Fortnite is its own metaverse, and World of Warcraft is, and Valorant is, and like, where does Facebook come into all this, right? Because Facebook is saying we are going to have a metaverse, and you spoke about like the term is evolving, right? What's it going to be like? How will all these worlds exist together? Is there going to be a specific destination? And leading to the question about what you mentioned earlier, right? Like even Router having 80% mobile gaming. When we speak about the metaverse, primarily, agar aap Google bhi karoge and you'll put metaverse, first thing you'll find people with AR and VR headsets, right?
Yeah.
We've had people talking about AR and VR for a while, but we are not seeing mass level adoption when it comes to those headsets. So what do you think will drive this Web3 evolution? Is it going into the metaverse? Is it going to be handheld devices? Is it going to be consoles? Is it just going to be headset linked different devices? Like, tell us more.
So I think from a metaverse perspective, and I've also heard a lot of content or seen a lot of content which even Mark Zuckerberg talks about. I think the real evolution will not happen until it changes from a headset or one of those bulky devices into something which is much more natural. That is where VR is stuck for a very, very long time, because people have to own these bulky sets and look awkward while they're consuming that content or are trying to get into that world. And I think a lot is getting worked upon on how they can make it simple. One of the things that he said in one of his podcasts or one of his interviews was that how, specs or for that matter, glasses will be perhaps the main version of, kind of a VR that will take it over there.
Okay.
And then he also spoke about lenses, how you could wear certain lenses and start to experience it much more smoothly than something like that. And so therefore I feel that whether, the entire world of AR, VR is currently stuck with hardware for a very long time, maybe
True.
10 years, right? And however people can try and change that, it's not going to change until the experience becomes very smooth. Like what mobile did to the world of entertainment was that it said you don't need to get stuck in a room. You can be you can be traveling, you can be in a garden, and you can experience the same content. Right? It is something like that needs to come in for this entire world to change. Otherwise, it will remain something which is very much in theory.
Oculus Quest. You're saying that it's gonna take too many decades for something like that to become our entry point.
No. I'm not saying too many decades. I think that is where Facebook is perhaps trying to be ahead of the rest of the world, because it's one company that I follow, and I believe that they're probably why he's very confident about being the leader in Metaverse is because he believes he'll be able to break that hardware barrier.
Okay.
And that is where things will change. And I'm not talking about decades. I think his own timeline is about 4 to 5 years from now.
Okay.
And I believe that, by 2025-26, we'll have something that will make everything mass, and from there the real story of Metaverse will start. It's not right now. It's very gimmicky right now. People are locking themselves up in a hotel room for 24 hours and writing a blog about what Metaverse is. All of brands are trying to sell things here and there. Nothing like that. It will only, as far as I see, and my personal opinion, I think until you make technology a little bit mass, the adoption will start from there, and that is when people will start to invest a lot in this space.
That sounds so true. Like, let's also talk about one of the other bigger behemoths when it comes to tech, right? Like Microsoft, with like insane amount of money to buy Activision Blizzard. And then I was reading a fun article which basically said, so Activision Blizzard owns King, right? And King makes Candy Crush. So then probably your Candy Crush items are interoperable with your World of Warcraft, mixed with the further Microsoft on Xbox with Xbox passes and all that stuff. So do you think Microsoft has a lead in this whole gaming space, gaming metaverse in the future? Like, what are your thoughts on something like that?
Well, I think personally, there are a couple of companies which are reimagining world in a much more ahead way than the rest.
Who are these? Tell us.
No, Microsoft is one of them.
Sure.
I mean, there's everything that happened in Jan 2022, which is when we said the amount of M&A that happened in Jan 22 was more than the entire last decade put together, right?
Wow.
And it happened because people have finally come to a very strong realization that the future of community is going to be around gaming and nothing else, right? Which is where what Microsoft is trying to do with their own acquisitions, what they're doing with Xbox or multiple other things, is basically trying to connect all the dots together, where they're imagining it right from a console gaming going up to the metaverse. And I've not seen they've done anything in Web3, but the point here being that with their every touch point that Microsoft has around us, they're trying to now shift that focus into gaming, and they're imagining a world where people will meet more over games than anything else.
That makes sense. Taking this point a little forward, you spoke about Axie Infinity, right? And Axie Infinity is probably one of the best examples when it comes to crypto games. And I also know, a little disclaimer, that you don't want to speak too much because they might be partners. But let's just jam about what Axie Infinity is, right? So basically, as I understand, it's built on Ethereum blockchain.
Yeah.
And you get to breed little monsters, and you get to build a team of monsters, and then they play with others, and once you beat them, you feel good and you earn money, right? Correct?
Yeah.
And Axie Infinity, probably in the last year, it became the darling of the industry, right? Like almost $1 billion valuation. I think their token was SLP's love potion.
Yeah.
Something essential love potion, right? And they did really well. Like I think like almost $0.50 per token they reached down to. And then somehow, and that's my angst against, and probably you also mentioned, right, where people realize that these monsters as NFTs, like probably where, like I keep mentioning about the greater fool theory, where a lot of people invested and probably into the game and spent time, and the main play was play to earn, right? Like that's what many people say crypto gaming is, play to earn. And then there was sort of a crash, right, recently, which happened. And some of the developers now saying that it was never about just play to earn, right? It is part of the community. And I'm sure there will be ups and downs, But what do you think we have to learn from what is happening at Axie Infinity? And what do you think in the future, right? Like, will traditional gamers be more open to say tokenization? Because I was reading something, World of Warcraft was introducing something on NFTs, and they announced on their Discord, and there was a huge backlash, right? There was a huge backlash where people said, we don't want this. So where are we as the industry? Like, where do you think, how will it evolve?
No, so here is the thing. I think this is it's a very interesting way that you put forward this. I think what is happening overall in the Web3 space globally is something that people are now a little worried about. The fact that there'll be multiple tokens, there'll be multiple currencies, how it's gonna get evolved over a period of time, what is growing, what is not growing, and of course there is overall a macro environment. I think from the example of Axie Infinity, or for that matter any gaming, and I'll not comment on a particular game, but overall, with any token, the primary responsibility of anybody who's launching that token is to grow the value of that token over a period of time.
True.
Right. As gamers, I can play, say, a game X, and I'm supposed to earn a token A over there. It only makes sense for me to continue to own that if I know that in the future A will be valued at, or it will continue to grow to become a normal currency, or maybe the adaptability will increase or whatever. The challenge here is that whether it is a gaming company or for that matter anybody else, the entire value of the token and what they're building behind it is the real challenge. And that is going to happen with every industry, including ours. That when somebody comes out and says that, okay, there is X token that we are launching, what is the value behind it? How are you going to grow it? What are the DAOs behind it? All of that comes into play. And that is the experience which is perhaps, changing the experience of people, that it went very high in 2021 for few games or few platforms, and it came crashing down in 2022. So that is one. The second part is that I think this entire world is in a learning mode. This entire world of Web3 is in a very learning mode right now. We all are learning, and it will continue to. I feel it is a very strong thing happening around us. The entire shift to blockchain is really going to make our life better. It's just that we need more time to kind of get on with it, and gaming is just a part of it.
Okay.
So in simple words, I know I answered much longer. All I'm saying is any token that you earn or by playing a game or by spending time on the game, the real value of that token are going to get defined by multiple other variables. And the real deal with the gaming companies is that how those variables can help increase the value of that token, which is when things will go very, very well. Is broadly how I understand this space.
That's a nice way to put it. Just taking that a little forward and adding some examples to it, probably like two main examples which come to my mind are probably Decentraland and Roblox, right? And I was reading Roblox, basically like some $38 billion valuation right now, and all these gaming studios want them. So what they've managed to do is they say we are, say, a Minecraft meets a Lego world, but we are not really a game.
Yeah.
They say we are a canvas. Okay. Yes. And within this canvas, we invite developers to come and build other games. This is also very interesting for brands now, suddenly, right? Like brands who probably want to advertise or reach out to these gamers are now probably realizing that maybe our gaming strategy, maybe our outreach strategy might be something over here, right? And even in Decentraland, we spoke about how Nike actually built this little world. Where do you see the intersection of brands in this world, right? Like because brands, obviously gamers, everyone wants to reach gamers, and gamers are this audience which has got money, right? Like for a lot of brands, people realize that gamers actually open their wallets for digital assets, right? Like they are the prime audience, right?
Yeah.
How do you think brands will evolve in this space?
No, I think you've touched upon a very important point, and something that I am very passionate about. I also come from a brand world. I was a marketer, so it's very fascinating to see how brands are embracing gaming as a world. First and foremost, the most fundamental thing is they see gamers as a great audience for a number of reasons. Their propensity to pay, they are young, so they have a lot of time to develop their lifetime value with the...
You're making me feel old by saying they're young.
Same here. As I say this, I feel more older. But the way they embrace technology, the way they have propensity to pay or to basically make somebody else pay for their gaming experience, for that matter, and the fact that they are young, essentially is where brands want to invest now. Now, in gaming, they know that it is very immersed and very deep. So it is not a very casual experience that people are having with gaming. Gaming is very intense, and which is why they'll have to come up with different experiences which are different. For example, in a simple word, right now, for example, all the esports, sponsorships, and esports is a great way for people to merge the offline and online gaming experience together, people winning against each other, etc. In terms of how you said, so from a brand perspective, having a game of their own in this kind of a world is something that they perhaps believe will give them a much better stay and a much better brand recall than just being around games, right? Which is where I think Roblox offers a very interesting proposition, because as you rightly said, I was also attending a couple of sessions on Roblox in the gaming developer conference that happened in San Francisco in March. And the entire attempt of the company is not to say that we are a gaming company. Yeah. They're basically saying we are a canvas on which it can be built. And they are promoting a lot of game development over there. And that is really the space where brands are getting into. And there are multiple games brands which have got into it. And the second thing is that with that, there is also a caveat that games are very binary in nature. It's very 0-1. Either it works or it doesn't work, which is why brands are also now getting into different kind of experiences, like what Tesla did with PUBG is basically a great example, where they are now inside the game and they're promoting their cars, and you'll see many more such deals, which are going to be many $1 million deals, but it will take time because games are, or gaming studios are not ready to open to brands that easily.
Yeah.
So brands have to find a different way to get into this, which is why streaming, esports, and these kind of experiences will come in.
So, Piyush, that was very interesting, right? Okay, now let's take a little step back, right? Because some of the stuff which we said might be a little bouncer to a lot of people, right? Now let's talk about the Candy Crush and Angry Birds player, right? Some of the people who are probably casual gamers, but if you tell them, bhai, aap to casually khelte ho, he'll be like, bro, I've got every Angry Birds, I finished every level, I've got 3 stars on every level. A Candy Crush, like I've crossed 1,000 level and all. And they're like, how are you calling us casual, right? For these gamers, right, how will this bunch evolve, or will it not evolve? Will there always be a bunch of people who are playing just to kill time out of boredom, to beat friends? Like what happens to this whole casual gaming space?
So I think casual gaming, I personally feel, is a very, very important part of the gaming industry, and most of the times people don't value them because they are not a very monetizable audience, and it's a different experience altogether. And the reason I say this is because
there are 2.5 billion casual gamers. Exactly. It's like crazy, 1/3 of the world's population.
Exactly. In India, more than 60-70% of gamers are actually casual gamers. And the reason I say this is because in every field of development, there is one level that makes that particular category inclusive, right? What cinemas did to entertainment 3-4 decades, 5-7 decades back is it started to tell people that there is something called cinema before it came to television, then cable television, then now OTTs and stuff like that, right? Casual gaming for me is the most fascinating part of gaming industry because it's going to make more and more set of people inclusive. That's one. Secondly, by nature, it needs to be simple. It cannot be complex, otherwise it's no longer called a casual gaming. So the casual gaming may evolve over a period of time with different kind of games. There was a big fascination of word-based games for a long time. Yeah. Then Candy Crush, you mentioned, has a different visual experience to it. And there'll be multiple. Snakes was technically a casual game, right? Which people were playing. So I feel that the entire development in the casual game space will happen more from a mobile perspective. People will try and make it more mobile friendly, will try and use different elements of the advancement in mobile technologies to make it better. Maybe add a bit of an audio element to it, which can make casual gaming very interesting. Currently, most of the casual games don't have an audio element, right? What made Battle Royale very exciting is the entire audio element part, that people could talk to each other and listen to each other and all of it. I think that will make casual gaming very exciting, but I'm very, very optimistic about it. And I think from what can make casual gaming very exciting is if it can have an element of esports into it or have a bit of a streaming into it, which is not the case right now because it's great to play, but it's not very much fun to watch. True. And for that matter, even to compete with everybody. If that happens, somebody thinks of a casual game from a streaming and an esports perspective, they're going to change the industry.
I've been fascinated by esports, right? Like primarily because, and I mentioned this in another episode, I've been playing FIFA from 1998, right? Like imagine this, like 25 years of obsessively playing a game. In fact, PS last year sent me, they do these things to make you feel good, but actually made me feel bad. It said 1,000 hours of playing on the PS. I was like, shit, that's like a daytime job, man. But, okay. And esports took its time in India, right? Like I remember I used to work at Zapak, and at that time, Zapak was still a casual gaming thing, and we were still trying to do stuff appealing to other gamers, right? And we used to do tournaments and have some sponsors, etc. But now I feel esports is finally reaching the point where a kid can tell his parents कि मम्मी पापा मेरे को FIFA खेलना है as a career. Okay, not going outside and playing football because too much effort probably, and India doesn't have playgrounds anymore probably. But probably like we are geeky and we are good within this esports world, right? Do you actually think in today's world if someone can actually make a career in esports by just playing?
Well, you're asking me, can I think? I mean, we are running a business purely on top of it. I strongly feel, and I've seen this evolve in the last 2 years since we have been in this business, and over the last 3-4 years that I've been around this business, that esports and game streaming are as real a career as it can get today, for that matter, if you compare it with any other industry.
How much money can you make, Piyush?
Well, you can make, it's crazy amount of money that somebody can go on. If you talk just in Indian terms, I know that there are a couple of, or rather many esports players and streamers who are making up to 15 crores a year, and they're not even 20 right now.
But who are paying? Are brands paying? Are their community becoming fans, super fans, and giving shout outs? Like that's a big amount, right? 15 crores is a big amount to be making.
Yeah, so the way it is happening is that first and foremost, they are doing two things which are very, very in prominence right now. First, they are definitely great content creators.
Okay.
They are playing the game, but they're making the entire gameplay very interesting. They're creating content around it, and the content platforms, or for that matter, anybody who's watching that content is ready to pay for that content, because the value of that content and the entertainment around that content is great.
But who are these streamers in India who people are paying for?
Well, there are many. I mean, there are like multiple I can do, but for example, one of our favorites and somebody who's exclusive on our platform is a guy called Jonathan. He's outstanding guy. The way he what he's doing to gaming is what Virat used to do for cricket, which is extremely disciplined. He's an esports player, represents his esports team in BGMI. At the same time, is a very very popular streamer who's also entertaining a lot of people. So many such examples, and we work with multiple esports teams and their players and everybody. And I think all of these are already role models.
Okay.
There are people coming from smaller towns. There are people like one of the most interesting case studies that the youngest streamer on Router, and for that matter, youngest streamer in India is a guy called is basic gaming guy called Vivon. Right? Okay. He's all of 7-year-old. Okay. He's a professional streamer.
What does he play?
He plays multiple games. He plays BGMI. He's learning Valorant. He's World of Warcraft. He's playing multiple games. Lots is being written about him in the media.
But who's watching him?
A lot of people.
Who are these people?
See, I mean, people like me, for that matter, because I love watching games, right? But when you see a 7-year-old playing game, and the way he's able to play the game, the way he's interacting, the way he's overall entertaining you in terms of how he's looking at the game, etc., is very exciting. And by me, I say I like him because I find it a very, very interesting proposition. But I'm sure a lot of kids around his age kind of has started to look up to him, because he's already a gamer. His parents have supported him. He has a gaming room. He's dedicated. He's doing homeschooling right now. Lots of things are happening, and hats off to his parents who say that if everybody will study, then who'll become a gamer, because they strongly believe that gaming is a very serious profession, and they believe that their kid is going to be a star in just few years. So the point here is that forget about age, forget about money that they're making. The true thing is that gaming is an art which can be used to make careers around it.
Okay.
And esports player, when you're playing esports first for your team, you can tomorrow play for India. In fact, many people will represent India in esports later this year in Commonwealth Games and in Asian Games. Asian Games is not happening, but they were supposed to represent in both the cases. You can go on to represent your country in esports. What more can you ask for? And I give this analogy that 20 years back, when a kid would go to his parents and say that I want to learn javelin and I want to represent India, he would have mostly been told that you're going out of your mind and it's not going to happen. And then there is Neeraj Chopra today who's won the gold for India, and perhaps the first athletic gold for India in Olympics. So it's exactly that. And gaming is not going to take 20 years. It's going to take maybe 5 years before we see people who are so proud of gamers around them and are making a career. So this is a transition we are seeing on day-to-day basis, and we are extremely proud to play a very small role in how these things are happening.
That's such a nice answer, Piyush. Okay, for our listeners who don't know too much about Router, you can obviously Google it later. I'll try to explain it basically to you. You download this app, you watch around 50 hours to unlock yourself to become a creator, and then you create. And by create, I mean you stream, and you basically get paid for every hour that you stream. And of course, if you have a bigger community, Discord community, YouTube community, you get some multipliers. And also your people who are watching you can donate and buy some items around what you're doing, right? Like,
absolutely. So gifting is very strong. We have a in-app currency called Diamond, which people actually buy to gift to you if your content is very interesting. And besides the fact that you can earn by creating content and now gifting, we have opened up another great monetization channel, which is brand monetization, which is influencer marketing.
Okay.
So there are multiple brands which are working with us who wants these streamers to carry their brand during their streams, kind of pin up their comments, etc. And they're also paying them. So a lot of options. And as you rightly described, that we are perhaps the only app in the market currently which is doing the watch and the create part in a similar manner.
So anyone who streams on Router can earn money.
Absolutely. And we like the way we spoke about play to earn in the Web3 game part. On our platform, the two models are create to earn and watch to earn.
Okay.
So if you create more content, you can earn something called Router coin, and you can redeem it for gaming vouchers or Paytm or whatever voucher. And at the same time, if you watch more content, you can earn more and more coins either directly through the platform or through the streamers. So streamers also give sort of a coins to their best fans and everything during the streams. And you can again use it to redeem it for different things. But the entire model is create to earn and watch to earn model.
Are there fake views, bot views? Because I was seeing like if you Google Router, like there are hacks of how to get 50 hours of Router in 5 days and how to set up streaming. And is that a problematic issue? Do you not want to speak about it?
No. I mean, I see it's very simple.
Where's this money coming from? You know what I'm asking you?
Yeah.
When you're paying every streamer to stream for every hour you're getting, where is this money coming from? Is it coming from brands? Is it VC money? Is it money which you all are earning, or are you all taking commissions on streamers? Where is this money coming from to pay every streamer?
First and foremost, we are the only streaming company in the country right now in this market which is monetizing our content. So we are definitely making revenue. We're making revenue through brands, through different things that they do. We are also making money through users. So the entire money which is being transformed is basically a loop, So we push more and more people to create and watch content. There are brands and there are different companies which are valuing that experience, and they're paying us for that. And we are sharing a part of it to the viewers as well as to the creators. So it is actually a loop, right? We are not using VC money for this, not at this stage, because we have grown and we are making decent revenue, and we are very, very bullish about the revenue potential which we have and are making. The second thing about why people are so passionate about this, because, it is something which is now literally like a science, that how can you crack such a model on Router where you can cross 50 hours and you can become a content creator, because very few platforms gives you that opportunity to make a career out of it or to convert your hobby into something that can start to pay you money for that. And it has worked for us for the last 2 years. And we believe that some platform, somebody who's a leader in any space has to grow the market. You cannot just be happy with the number of people who are already there in the market. And one of the ways to do is that if we have to be the platform which is stated to grow the audience and grow the number of creators, then you need to do a lot of work in this regard, where you need to push people to become creators.
True.
I mean, our goal is that, on Twitch, some 3 million people create content every month. On Router is currently 1 million. We need to go 3x of that, which is not going to be easy, but it can only happen if we are pushing more and more, kind of gamers to come and create content on Router.
Why is Twitch not more aggressively marketing in India?
No, Twitch.
Is it too niche? Because like Twitch is primarily console gaming, right? And Router you mentioned are not only console. Why I'm saying this is my preferred OTT platform when it comes to when I see my stats at the end of the month for phone usage. Twitch is above YouTube, Netflix for me, right? Because I'm watching a lot of these streamers, Indian streamers, and I'll give a shout out to some of them a little later. But is streaming still niche, or is it very casual gaming led? Do you not see console and PC gaming overlapping? What's the scene?
No, so India is a mobile gaming market, and everything that will happen in India, whether it is the growth of esports or whether it is the entire streaming space, will happen around mobile games, right? So that is the first thing. A console is a little,
right, because is the entry barrier expensive?
One, entry barrier is expensive. Then there are a lot of...
Your friends are not on it.
Not everybody is on it. So the entire multiplayer experience is not good. Secondly, it's not that, it's not very, very expensive, but it's still expensive.
But will Steam and Xbox Pass I'm sure these guys want to change that, right? With so many different gaming platforms and engines coming in.
So everything is going to change. Gaming in India will embrace these technologies, and perhaps even console will start to grow at a certain point in time when the market grows. But I always believe that the strongest device which is there in our life is the mobile phone, which is there in our pocket, and we carry it pretty much everywhere we go in a day. And anything which is imagined around it is going to really transform that entire thing. So coming to your question on Twitch, I know there are ardent followers of content on Twitch, people like you, and there are many people who have grown up on Twitch, and even I used to watch a lot of content on Twitch. But when it comes to the games which are being played on mobile, or games like Valorant, which is being played on PC,
massive. Like Valorant is one of the main games on Router, right?
Yeah,
like
one of the games which is growing, which is fastest growing on Router. The entire thing is that it is very, and the other thing is that the entire localization of playing games and creating content around it and esports is very India specific, and that is where we have a lot of edge over Twitch.
But how will you crack this, or is that not a main thing which you're after? An Indian creator on Router might want a global audience also, right?
So first and foremost, they want first an Indian audience, which is very important, and that is where they'll focus on. And then of course they'll go for an global audience, and at some point in time, or not too far from now, we are also going to go global. We believe the entire market with mobile, where mobile games are big, are a playground for us. We can also get there at some point in time, having first cracked Indian market to a deep way. So yeah, it's a very, very big market. It is something that I think the entire esports and streaming experience are happening from two ends. From one end, Twitch is pushing it from a console and PC perspective. From the other end, mobile streaming platforms.
I don't think Twitch cares much about India. I'll tell you, like I was talking to probably the Indian national team which represents FIFA and esports, Lokmanyu, Janasit, Saransh, CJ, and I watch all these guys on stream. Yeah, they are not so bullish about streaming per se. In fact, one of the guys I was talking to, Saksham, who's been in the space, he was even represented by a Turkish-based esports company. He almost gave up. He's like, "Bhai, there is no money in this space." Okay. But I personally have seen in a year and a half, because like Router sponsoring tournaments and so much, suddenly these guys have got this buoyancy, right? Where they actually believe that what they are doing has got some scope, right? So I'm sure all these guys who are listening, Super Key, Lokmanyu, etc., I'm hoping you share this video. But sorry for going a little off topic. I wanted to talk, and we're probably reaching towards the end of our conversation. Tell me about the Web3 stuff which Router is planning. You don't have to reveal all your cards for the competition, but tell us a little about what Router is doing in the Web3 blockchain space.
Yeah, so there are a couple of things that we're doing. First and foremost, we believe that there are a lot of blockchain games which are either have entered India or are trying to enter India. IndieGG is basically one of our key partners. We partnered them, and
they are a DAO, right? They are a sub-DAO.
They are a sub-DAO of YGG, right? And the objective of that partnership is very simple. If we are the platform which is developing the content and are developing the content creators for different kind of games, more of these Web2 games so far. And with IndieGG, we are basically going to help all the Web3 games, which are all the blockchain games which are under them, to develop the entire content creator base for them. So we are investing $1 million over the next 12 months to build that base for their gamers or their streamers on Router exclusively.
So Web3 streamers. If you're a Web3 game streamer, you need to check this out, right?
Absolutely. We are absolutely open. We are working with multiple of them. Our idea is to do, close to do almost between 1,000 to 10,000 such streamers. Same is what we are doing with one of the Solana games as well. So this is the first part, that we are basically now open to working with different blockchain games, helping them enter India. So there are two ways to enter India. One, of course, you're going to publish it, you're going to partner local people. The second is that you will need a lot of content around it, and that is where we want to play a role. We are a full-fledged platform with 50 people just in the community team to help, work with these creators. So that is one. The second,
so what, you're going to build tokens for these guys, or you build assets?
So that is the other thing. So as you rightly said, I'm not, it's a little early for us to start talking about what we want to do, but see, the way we imagine the Web3 evolution of gaming in India, it is, and particularly from a streaming, our goal here is that how can we work with esports teams, how can we work with streamers, and how can we work with viewers, all three of them put together, to basically decentralize the entire gaming industry and the way the industry is going to make money in the future. Can we build different canvases on the top of which multiple things can, so it's not just about launching an NFT marketplace, or it's not just about launching a token or whatever you're hearing around. I think the entire opportunity, and I'll not call it a problem, the entire opportunity is very huge, where you can completely reimagine this world and work with different stakeholders to help them, one, engage more with their fans and their viewers and their users. Secondly, make more money out of this entire process, and not just by licensing your NFT to somebody.
But that's Web3, right? Like Web3's primarily come rather than like a traditional game studio objective was like, we want to make money through your assets and time. Now it is primarily come, let's all make money and also have fun and get entertained at the same time.
Absolutely, and that is what we are going to reimagine. I'll leave it here. I hope we can have another conversation sometime in future once we have announced everything. But we are very excited. I think this is the next 10 years in making on how this is going to play out, and a lot of work is happening as we speak.
Sounds really exciting. Piyush, this is our last question, which I ask all our guests, right? Imagine 10 years down the line, right? How do you see Piyush playing? And the second question is for all our younger listeners, right, who are in college and engineering and game designing, etc. What are the skill sets which are going to get obsolete, which will probably get replaced by AI, which if you are working in, you should get out of in this gaming sphere? And what are the skill sets and the new jobs which are going to come up, like community management, etc., which you spoke about, right? And what are the jobs what are the skill sets which youngsters today should passionately pick up, especially if they see a career for themselves in this Web3 gaming space?
No, I think there are multiples. Again, I'm also yet to learn a lot to be really making such a large comment, but I'll try and attempt it and see how it works. One thing that I've seen is, first and foremost, I think anything to do with data. I know everybody talks about it, but fact is, the more we go deep in our business, the more we realize that the role of data in any business, and for that matter in gaming business, is very crucial. Anybody who can figure out a career with data in gaming is really going to be a king 10 years or 5 years from now, because everything around us will start getting governed by the kind of data points you can generate from a game. And trust me when I say this, that the current set of gaming companies are very limited with the kind of data they are themselves exploring, so it's going to change. And if somebody can reimagine it. Second, I think, is in terms of experience, anywhere that you could reimagine the experience that gamers have, and it starts with the way Meta is happening, or for that matter, any game that will be imagined in Metaverse or developments which are happening in Web3 is again going to be very, very different. From the other skill set perspective, I mean, I think gaming is a very early industry right now, so I don't see anything which is very early and will become obsolete. Streaming will continue to be the way it is. Esports is only going to evolve. I think the traditional ways of doing things will change. So the entire production and everything will become much more natural and much more industrious than being done by people. I think that is where people should evolve much faster. I mean, it's very difficult for me to imagine what I will be doing 10 years from now, but I definitely feel that everything that I'll learn and gain as an experience in these 5 to 7, 10 years will come in very handy, because gaming is not going to take 10 years to change. It's going to change in every 3 years. So 3 years later,
constant evolution, right?
And it's going to move much faster than what we imagine. So 10 years is a very long time period. I'm too scared to believe what will happen 3 years from now. And that's what I want to be there.
Such a fascinating conversation, Piyush. Any last lines, any shout outs to any streamers who we all should check out, or any podcasts of gaming which you think we should check? Any game which you would like to invest in, which you think is really getting a lot of people talking about?
No, I think, we work with thousands of people and there's no particular one that I would like to. I think everybody who's been a part of Router so far, who have trusted us to be their streaming platform, or whether it is esports teams, streamers, esports tournament organizers like Sky, I believe, I'm very excited to work with all of them. In terms of different kind of games, I personally really, really want cricket to evolve as a game in India. I think it's a revolution in terms of sport in India, but it's
there's
just
still
not
no go-to game. Yeah,
I know a few of our partners who are working very hard on it, and I hope and I believe that they'll succeed. But I strongly believe the biggest golden opportunity in India is somebody can crack cricket, make it into a very large game.
Apart from just random NFTs, right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, make it a large game, popular game, create streaming content around it, do esports tournaments at scale. Imagine a esports tournament in cricket like IPL. That is where I'm imagining, because you need to take gaming and then you need to imagine India, and this is where it can get
because
combined.
India is cricket, right? Like I myself have worked on development of 3 cricket games back a decade back, but cricket is while cricket is religion in our country, I think cricket gaming has still got to be cracked in a way where
nobody has done it. I mean, I know
everyone has attempted it.
Everyone, and there are people attempting. There are partners, and I know Nautilus is doing a lot of work in that. I think it is a great opportunity, and the day it happens, I want to really dedicate a lot of my time and perhaps with my experience into it, because that will change gaming. That will completely change the way gaming is perceived. Not because cricket needs to replicate in gaming as well, but I personally feel that is where the casual gaming part will pick up hugely and can transform into a much better experience.
Agree. Thank you so much, Piyush, for being part of this, and hopefully we'll have far more gaming conversations with you in the future.
Absolutely. I loved being here. Thank you so much. A lot of things that I learned while talking to you, and I hope everybody finds it interesting. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, guys. And that was such a really cool episode, right? Of Future Proofing, presented by Intel vPro, built for business. If you liked this episode, and especially if you got to know a little more about the world of gaming, do like, share, subscribe, comment on this episode, and be sure to share it with all your friends. We also have some really good news. We have a gaming specific NFT dropping for this episode. You can check out more details on IVM Podcast social networks. You can get more information on IVM Podcasts across social networks. They are at the rate of IVM Podcasts, or you can follow me. I'm at Ekalavya across Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, and Ekalavya B on Twitter. Thank you for listening, and see you in the next episode.